What's going on, everybody? My name is Steve Gum, and this is the Make Your Mark podcast, where we focus on creating breakthroughs in business and life, in particular, your business and your life. I want you guys taking action on some of this stuff. But today is a great interview with Jay Swoboda and Erin Hopmann. Now, they're from Dabble, and it's Dabble, Dabble.co. This is such a cool company. I've been paying attention to these guys for several years when they launched and got some traction here in the Chicago area. And it's just an exciting business. But in this interview, you're going to really discover the reality of the entrepreneurial journey. Because what happened was Erin started this company with a friend of hers, Jess, and they built this and ran into some significant challenges that most entrepreneurs actually run into, but very rarely talk about. And what they did was they ended up launching a blog called 30 Days of Honesty, where they shared the ride and the struggles and what was going on internally. It's a really remarkable, authentic story, and I just really appreciate them sharing it with everybody. And Jay has come on to take over the company as Erin and Jess have moved on to other employment, although they're still on as advisors. And Jay has a really strong vision and is very excited about the potential. And I think it's going to be a real happy ending to a remarkable ride. But as you listen, you're going to kind of get an inside look into the challenges that entrepreneurs face that they so very rarely talk about. And at the same time, kind of get some insight from Jay as he really tries to scale a startup. And it's just fun to listen to the kind of the wheels turn, and get some insight from these guys. So I'll be quiet, listen to the interview, and I'll talk to you at the end. So enjoy. All right, everybody. So I'm really excited about this call today. I've got Jay Swoboda and Erin Hopmann on the line, both from Dabble. And this is a company that I've been following for a while. And I wanted to share this story with everybody here because not only do I think the product and what they're doing, the vision is remarkable, but I think you're going to find their story to be something that's going to really resonate with a lot of you out there. And so without me trying to go in and explain Dabble, which I'd be happy to try, I'm going to kind of defer to Jay, who is the CEO over there. Is that correct, Jay?
I am stepped in the last couple months here as interim CEO, and I guess the interim might fall off here one of these days once I figure out exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, cool. Why don't you go ahead, you or Erin, I want you guys to kind of tell everybody just at a baseline level first, what Dabble is all about, so people can quickly kind of wrap their brain around what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, Dabble's a marketplace for classes. They're not your typical variety. They're fun, one time, or sometimes we offer series classes, and they allow us to explore their interest in kind of a low commitment and enjoyable way. Our online platform connects teachers with students in the community, kind of all in the name of learning and exploration. And they range from culinary to business, career, knife throwing is a popular one. So I think we capitalize on this interest of people to connect offline, and we do it in a way that makes it really easy for folks.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Erin, give me a rundown, because I'm always fascinated of the evolution of companies. So you guys you were working a regular job, and then all of a sudden you decide, I want to start this business. Can you kind of give me just the thought process there and the feeling of where this thing evolved from?
Yeah. So Jess is my co-founder, had actually been working together for about 6 months on another project. And it was essentially working with small businesses and startups in Chicago in like a consulting fashion. And we realized that we had a lot of passion for doing something ourselves, that the consulting model only goes so far, and that we really wanted to kind of build something from scratch. So this was about 3.5 years ago. And the idea for Dabble came about because of personal pain points. Here we were as adults, and we felt like we often had to give up some of the passions and interests we had, because there weren't ways to pursue them in a low commitment way. So for example, I used to be really into art and wanted to get back into it, but it felt like anytime I looked at what was available around me, and I'm talking about like non-accredited or degreed learning, it felt like I had to sign up for a 10 or 12 week class for 500 plus bucks. And it just wasn't always possible. So hence Dabble, which really, we feel like the name aptly talks about what it means. One week you could dabble in the arts. The next week you could dabble in gardening. And yeah, so we went from there.
That's pretty cool. So what was that leap like? I mean, when you decided, look, I'm going to start this business, I'm going to leave this job. I mean, how long was it from ideation to leap?
So neither of us were employed. Like we were already had left like our corporate jobs. So one thing that we had the benefit of was that we could focus full time on this. So idea to leap or to launch was about 10 weeks, and we really pushed hard. We launched with 18 classes in Chicago in May of 2011. And it was the two of us and the social media intern we brought in, and we sort of really hustled to get those classes, reached out to probably 100, 120 teachers. And yeah.
Hustling is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hustle.
Yeah. Well, you guys are definitely hustling now. I mean, it's an interesting time, I guess, in your business. And so I think, leading up to that, I guess, let's talk about some of the challenges that you guys faced. And then I want you to briefly, just give me a rundown of how things went, Erin, in terms of the progression of the business. And if you can lead me up to the point of 30-day honesty, that would be great. And then we can kind of transition over to
you talk about a lot of, entrepreneurs having high highs and low lows. And I would say for that first 6 months post-launch, we had a lot more highs than lows. The reception was, we launched in Chicago. We were very well received. We felt like we really hit on this pain point that we had. It was truly a need. A lot of people like, oh my gosh, this is such my mindset. I'm such a dabbler. How did you know? I wish I had this idea. We were selling tickets and growing and getting, good press. And that led us down the path to really define where we wanted to go. And we knew we needed to bring on some employees. So we ended up raising 2 rounds in 2012. So the first was a small friends and family round. The second was still a seed, small seed round, angel capital, many based out of Chicago. And we kind of, were able to hit the ground and feel confident bringing more people on. And about a year and a half ago, we sought to, more funding and to really define, where we're headed from here. And there was a bit of a shift as far as, a few changes we had made to the business model. We had launched in Denver and Milwaukee, and we were seeing growth in other cities. But we were not quite at that inflection point. So instead of raising more capital, that's when we launched the 30 Days of Honesty project, Jess and I, which was basically a 30-day blog inspired, I have to give credit where credit's due, to people out of New York City who did the 30, I think it was called 40 Days of Dating or something, where essentially they committed to blogging every day in the name of for them, it was, they decided to date each other. So they logged their experiences. For us, it was, we're struggling here. We have taken a significant financial hit personally. We've had to let go of some of the team members. We have a product here that we believe works and we still feel very passionate about. And we believe that, maybe it takes a village sort of idea. So let's put it out there. We're up for change. We're up for suggestions coming from anyone. And the other big reason we wanted to do it is we really wanted to keep this going, but we felt like people, especially those in Chicago who had seen us from the get-go, believed that we were like a sure success. And it's like, wow, I mean, we are if on these measures, but we are not if you're talking about a business where everyone is, has their job and and is paid well. We weren't quite at the level of profitability that made us comfortable. So we put that out there, and with that, we got some suggestions. We got again, some good press, and a lot of like open, honest conversation kind of came back to us. So we made a few changes coming out of that, and then had met Jay at this point. And Jay, is an entrepreneur himself. He can give you more of his background, but based in St. Louis, who had said, guys, I love this concept. I've had a similar idea. This is what I've done in my career. I would love to help you bring Dabble to St. Louis. And this was always an interesting model to think about, a market sort of leadership based model. But we said, hold off, like we don't feel quite ready. And we kept talking. And then I can let Jay pick up from here, but we sort of started working together early this year officially.
Cool. Well, let's do this. And Jay, I'm not leaving you out. So I want to go back to the 30 days of honesty is very interesting to me, because we were talking before we jumped on the call about my experience with entrepreneurs and the struggles. And it's funny because you're right. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Dabble, being from Chicago, and I had the same assumption, right? I mean, every entrepreneur, when they have a business, they look the part, they act the part, and very often, there's some significant challenges going on behind the scenes, and entrepreneurs struggle in silence so much. It's crazy. But for you guys, I guess, how scary was that? Like when you decided, because very few people say, okay, look, I'm just going to put this out there and air it out, right? I'm going through these challenges. I mean, how scary was that? You got to give yourself a pat on the back, because it's so refreshing to hear, and I love what you guys did. But that moment of, we're going to put this blog out there. I mean, was that a scary situation?
Yeah, it definitely was, and on a few different fronts. So one way that might be a little more unexpected is that this was partly a personal struggle for each of us. And I think we didn't want it to be in any way, look at us, or narcissistic, or drawing attention, and, to sit there and blog every morning. And I mean, it was taking us a good hour a day, which, as a side note, one benefit was we're going to keep writing more. This is really cathartic. But the challenge of making it too touchy-feely is that people are like, all right, enough, you guys, enough glimpse into your struggle, woe is you sort of situation. So there was that. And then, we have investors, and we have a business. And so we recognize that it was an atypical way to approach a problem. And we're also two women. So we wanted to make sure that it remained, what was the balance that we would strike of professionalism, but yet that we believe fully there was a need for more of this. Because I agree with you. I think that sometimes people can be too guarded about what's actually going on. So it ended up being good. And I think it, more than 100% focus on Dabble, I think it empowered other people in Chicago, mostly other entrepreneurs, to say, oh my God, I've been feeling this pain myself. And oh my gosh, this is really great for me. I've been reading it every morning on the L. And if it could do that, that was great too.
So would you say, I mean, what do you think you guys got out of that? Had you not done the 30 days of honesty, the fact that you did, what do you think you got out of that?
Well, so we switched, the one thing we did with the business. So our goals in doing it were to have people rally around us. We wanted to keep this business going. We wanted to ask for a bit of a permission if we needed to, if we weren't quite as fast at responding to support requests, or if, and also just, to get suggestions from anyone. And so, as far as the second point, we did have some thoughts, and some teachers that really, reached out and gave us suggestions. So one thing we changed after that was the pricing model a bit, where we, instead of taking a flat cut of every ticket sold. We allowed teachers to dictate what they would give us, with us, gently recommending something with the hopes that our margins would go up. And I'm trying to think of what else it led to from a product perspective.
You got this from, like, when you did 30 Days of Honesty, you started getting some real good input and feedback from people that you may have otherwise.
Yeah. And I mean, people coming out of the woodwork to tell us, this is what Dabble has truly done for them. They hope we can stay alive. And like teachers willing to bend over backwards to make this happen. Like, it has been so fantastic teaching on your platform. Like, I should be paying you, that kind of like, those kind of sentiments. So, and it led us to do like some more, conversations with users, and to like, it led us down the path of like research to say like, oh, is this really something or not? And so it prompted conversations that we probably wouldn't have had.
Very cool. And so what I love about what you guys did as well, and now with Jay taking over, it's one of those things where you guys created something, you ran into some significant challenges, but I love just your willingness to see this through. I think I know a lot of people that are passionate about what they do, and others that are really in it for, to make money. And you need both, of course. But I think it's interesting to see, Dabble living on, and who knows? Like, I think that you guys have, huge potential to be a remarkable story. And, kudos to you guys for figuring out that, we need to make sure this thing lives on, and kind of passing the torch. So at what point, do you guys decide, or your board or what have you, that we just can't sustain this and we need help?
There were many conversations, Jess and I, about, do we keep this going or do we shut down? And what we saw was a business that worked on many fronts, and just a few things to figure out. But I think we looked at personally, like, what we had sacrificed, what we had gained, of course, but what we had sacrificed over the course of 3 years, and what we felt like we couldn't do anymore personally. And I think we each defined in our minds, like, if we can reach these milestones with Dabble, or, personally, and we knew income was a main one. And so
details.
Yeah, the details. So we decided and the other part was like, could we continue working on this with the help of people who step in a bigger way? And Jay was one of those people. And so, Jess and I kind of put it to like, we're going to see if we can seek out a source of income, and what that might look like. And for Jess, it happened to be a full-time job she landed in January. And for me, it happened to be one that I got, I found full-time work out here in San Francisco, started a few months back. So I think the writing was on the wall that like this, there was somebody, and the other part is that fresh burst of air can be a good thing. So Jay kind of, definitely represented and went after, well, I can let him speak to you about this, but the reason, in addition to really thinking he had like the chops, we sought Arch Grants, a grant out of St. Louis, Jay's suggestion. And I had been aware of it because I knew some people that won it a few years ago. But it's a $50,000 grant. And like through his leadership, we went after that and kind of talked, about what this business would look like moving forward if we won it. And sure enough, we won it. And so that's where we are today.
That's awesome. So Jay, you're going to get to talk, believe it or not. This is crazy.
Sorry.
Behind every is a strong, smart woman. So I have to total credit to Erin and Jess for this, and it's I'm really lucky to step into some amazing cozy shoes that every once in a while give me blisters, but it's been a journey, and it was my take on the story is similar, but I, of course, was operating, I think, like a lot of people were about Dabble, that this is a business that's going to blow up and I want to get in on the ground floor. And so when I fired off my missive in probably April 2013, I'd just been dumped, and it tends to be when I'm looking for a new opportunity just to kind of change my life up. And I said, hey, I want to help I've got some time that just opened up in my life, and I want to bring Dabble to St. Louis. So we went back and forth for a couple months, and ultimately, not knowing all that was going on behind the scenes, it just wasn't the right time. And so, I said, I kept following them. I kept getting their newsletters. So I knew that they were still in business and still an opportunity out there, and thought when the time was right that I'd revisit it. I myself had kind of parted ways with my 8-year full-time employment job doing real estate development, and I was looking for income on a regular basis and trying to cobble things together. So when the Arch Grants email came through, I said, well, let's go for it. And I fired off an email to Erin and Jess, and they said, hey, we were just thinking about St. Louis. So it took a few months to get through that process, and during that time, I'm trying to figure out how to pay my bills and not really counting on this Arch Grant to, dramatically change things. But I thought it was a really great opportunity for me to step in and launch St. Louis, and then help out on a national level with growth and strategy and marketing. And so, we got the grant, and then there was, the understanding was that Erin was looking for full-time work. Jess had already taken the job. Our software, kind of all things, really kept kind of things, the ship together. Frank Massey up in Chicago was, behind the scenes, kind of, working with Erin on a daily basis and making this thing still go. So I stepped in really full-time in July. So it's only been, a couple months. But I can tell you that in 2 months, you kind of get a little bit of everything from teachers issues, buyer issues, the student issues, purchasing, crediting, refunding, just learning the ins and outs of the site, that you're so occupied with just learning that it's really difficult to step back and look at strategy and where the business is going. And so I think maybe I kind of created my own, early startup phase of enjoying it and everything about it, but my blinders were on. And I kind of needed to step back. I need to step back now and just say, hey, what are we doing here? Where's it going? And where are we going to take it from here?
When I think of Dabble, right, I think you guys look at it definitely as a teaching platform. And it is, I'm interested in how users are actually leveraging it, because when I think of Dabble, I'm a marketing guy by trade. And the first thing I thought was just what a fantastic place, if you're trying to position yourself, from a business standpoint as an expert or, building an audience, what an awesome platform to do it. And it just, the way that you guys have created the product and the site and all that, my first thought when I came across Dabble was, man, this is a great place to really build a name for someone in small markets, as an expert and leader in a particular space. So, I mean, how do you guys see people leveraging the platform right now?
The teachers that come through, I mean, there's some just kind of just diehard Dabble teachers that use it as, both a platform for sharing their passion, but there's also these folks that are trying to build a name for themselves. And I think that when it comes to, it's not every class sells out. And that's not a reflection on the teacher. It's sometimes a reflection on the time of year or the day of the week that they chose. But I noticed that the best teachers tend to know, how to market it, how to create some energy around it with social, and then there's also this in-person kind of personality. It's not just about learning how to make pasta. It's learning how to make pasta with somebody who's also a award-winning mixologist on the side and who's, got this really great, amazing space that she's put together. So I think that it's every teacher is using it a little bit differently, whether it's just to share a passion, to build up their business for all their existing business, but also the follow on kind of like, Dabble is engaging. It's in person. It's not just it's just not just a conversation, or it's an in person, hands on activity, and I think that's why it works.
When I think of Dabble, it's like if you want to learn something, I mean, there's a two-way street, right? So obviously if you want to build a brand or you just love teaching, it's fantastic. But to your point, Jay, to be able to actually come to a class with someone who really knows what they're talking about, particularly, because I have been on the platform and see some, there's some reputable people putting on classes there. And, to be able to get in front of them face to face and ask questions and, pick their brain, I don't think very many people realize the unique opportunity that exists from a learning and a connection standpoint through Dabble. I mean, it's really cool.
I think there's, because we get calls for people to, who want private classes, or yesterday somebody was looking for somebody to help teach them welding. And so, while we've looked at it, I think early on as this just sort of social learning, there's actually people who are like really trying to like hone their business chops, and in doing so are seeking out specific classes. And if Dabble can be the go-to both for social fun, kind of break out of your routine classes, as well as, find experts in the community and learn from them in person, I think, that's something that I don't think we probably put enough emphasis on. And it really is identifying sort of the thought leaders and the action leaders, in the communities where we're present. So definitely, I think there's an underestimated aspect of Dabble's, impact, that we have in the communities where we're active. I think we have a multiplier effect, in addition to that, because, we attract people to experiences, but then those people are spending time in a neighborhood and they tend to, go for a coffee or grab a bite to eat before or after a class. And, so there's this like nice multiplier effect that's very about, micro small business development. And, with 75% on average of our revenue staying with the teachers and in the community and local businesses, it's really a community investment model that I think we also haven't leveraged that marketing brand energy enough, outside of just people connecting around learning.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are doing a great thing. I'm excited to see, where it goes. So how are people finding out about Dabble? I mean, from a marketing standpoint, what are you guys doing to drive traffic? Is there anything that's really working, or is that something you're still working on?
It seems to be word of mouth across the board is still our kind of go-to, our go-to where people hear about us. But, we've had 6,800 new people have signed up this year, for Dabble. And, we average about 700 new users a month. Our registrations are pretty even with that number as well. So for classes, so we're still in the double digits. And I think to get to the triple digits, there is this multiplier effect that has to happen before we can really get to that, kind of, I think, really sustainable financial kind of level in the business. And I think people find about it word of mouth, but that's a very slow method of engagement. So we've entered into a partnership with a national brand, a tool company, about teaching some classes, and we're going to pilot that in Chicago and hopefully St. Louis as well. But that's an opportunity where, we can identify ourselves with a national brand. And if the pilot works in Chicago, they're looking to kind of launch it across the country, which would really stress our limited staff and resources. But the branding and brand identity is really the way to get this out. And so I'm looking at some opportunities, in addition to, it's really just strategic partnerships with, businesses that have a lot in common with what we do. So, the folks that are listing events through Eventbrite, brown paper tickets, there's no reason that Dabble can't also become a method how people register for events that aren't classes per se. So there's partnership opportunities, co-listing opportunities. We've had a lot of success in the last month talking with community colleges about listing classes. So there's a nice way to look rather than one-off classes, but to reach out to a broader audience and kind of use Dabble as the platform with which, large organizations register individuals for classes. So there's a couple different ways that we're getting the word out about Dabble. And one of the things that we've just recently been chatting about is, currently on Dabble, every class, the average cost of a class is about $40 over the last month, which has ticked up quite a bit over the last few months. And it's starting to get to the point where it's getting a little bit beyond what you might consider the cost of dabbling. If I'm going to go check out a concert that I'm not so sure about, I don't know if I want to drop $40. I might drop 20. So, the cost of our classes is ticking up. And I think we, trying to find some classes that are $10, $5, even though there's not a business model there, there's a user model there that I think we really can kind of grow our business. And growing our business to me means, I want 100,000 users on the site, within the next year. I'd like to see 1 million users by 2017. And that's going to take, some pretty strategic marketing and outreach.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, content marketing and positioning as leadership, in any market. I mean, that's kind of the talk now. All marketers are trying to figure out how to position companies and the people within the companies as leaders and to, get better training and all that stuff. And so I want to encourage everybody that's listening to this. First of all, Dabble it's a remarkable company that, if you want to support, entrepreneurs, this is one to get behind. And, I would encourage everybody to go to it, and it's dabble.co. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, that's right.
And just, feel it out. I know a lot of people that are listening to this are smart entrepreneurs, and, you guys, I just think, like me, when you see this platform and what they're doing, there's so many ways to leverage, what they have provided, that it's just, I just think it's an awesome opportunity and something everyone should really check out. Now, for you guys, I guess a couple more questions and I'll let you guys fly. Erin, this is something that you guys have grown and is growing almost, obviously beyond you guys at this point. I want to know, what does Dabble, what is this company and this mission, this brand, what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So it's been quite a ride, and not unlike most other entrepreneurs. I'm so thankful that we have found in Jay, somebody who's willing, excited, and capable of leading the business forward. Because I think we still think that this is, something that's sorely needed. And it does so many things, from just, okay, now I can pursue those passions and interests I had in people and connect in a way that's really meaningful. So I'm very thankful that it didn't come to having to shut it down. And I also, it was bittersweet starting a new job that I'm also very excited about. But it was, it was kind of that moment where the full transition over to Jay was not without, some sadness on my part. But, still involved in more of an advisory role. And more than anything, I am grateful that I think winning this grant is still a testament to what we've built is really powerful. See where things go.
Cool. And Jay, same question to you, man. You have obviously, you don't do what you have done and reach out and take on the role that you've taken on without a level of passion and belief in the product. So, what does Dabble mean to you? What does this company mean to you?
I'm an incredibly optimistic and hopeful person. And in pretty much everything that I do, I don't enter into something with any remote doubt that I can't do it or it won't be successful. I found Dabble as something that, has this amazing foundation and great platform to launch from. And, I just believe, and maybe I'm a little, maybe too positive about it, but I just believe that with energy and with the right people, and probably some more money, that Dabble is going to be a amazingly, not huge company, but a company that is a household name. And every community, not just big cities, but even small rural towns, can have a Dabble platform where people can get together. And I just love its ability to get people connecting in person. And that to me is what it's all about. I think as I've, kind of transitioned through my career, friendships, relationships, it's been, I found myself becoming more and more aloof and less able to authentically connect with people. And I think Dabble creates that opportunity. And that's why I believe that it's something that is just, we should do, but it's something we have to do. We have to get people connecting offline and really, supporting their communities and getting out from behind their computer screens. And that's why I believe in Dabble. And that's why, I'm dedicating my whole self to it.
Well, it's a remarkable story, and I guess to lean on that. Although you guys kind of have addressed it there, I guess for both of you, Erin, I guess first, and then Jay, I'd like you guys to answer the question. Just as you guys go through this journey and you guys look back, years and years from now, how do you guys hope that you've made your mark?
Yeah, this is always a tough question. I mean, I would echo. I think Jay and I are alike in that. And it's a good thing we are, because I think, same vision for this company, where I think I don't count a success only if it's, a multi-billion-dollar company or something. It's about, can we build a sustainable business that means something to those of us working on it, but also it brings joy and does something for people in a really meaningful way. So if we can do that, and I believe we have done that, and if we can continue to do that, I think it's a success. And I hope that's the mark that it leaves and doesn't compromise, for the sake of other interests.
Cool. Jay, what about you?
The mark for me is when, I guess it is that fact that, really just, I think it really is not, we have to be a successful business financially so that we can support the growth that I believe is potential here. So, there's some things that we will have to do in the short term that are very business focused. But I think as a company, as we continue to grow and expand to new cities and, new countries, hopefully, that the mark will be not necessarily on the quantity of classes and users, but on the quality. And if we can really just curate a very high quality product, the rest will take care of itself. And I think that for myself, in the short term, I have the ability to kind of work through some of the kind of challenges of figuring this out. But in the long run, I hope to have a big team around me that's, maybe in multi-cities. We can't all be in one area. This is going to work all over the world. So I look forward to working with people and having a really great, fun, strong team around us. And those are the benchmarks that I think will show that Dabble's, going to be around for a while.
Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you guys both and everybody out there. Go to Dabble, DABBLE.co, and give these guys some support and check it out. I mean, it is, again, I personally reached out to these two. I love what they're doing. I just see so many opportunities in what they've built and where this company is going, and I think you guys will find it as well. So to you guys, I'm just grateful that you took the time to talk with me here. I really am appreciative of your honesty and what you guys have created. And I know it's not an easy road, but I think you're to be applauded for what you've done up to this point and where you're going. And so I just want to say thanks a lot, really for everything. Entrepreneurship is not an easy thing, and I appreciate what you guys have done and wish you guys the best. And I'm looking forward to really seeing where Jay and you guys really take this company. It's going to be a fun ride.
Thanks,
Thank you, Steve.
Really
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, have a good one, and I look forward to meeting you guys at some point here in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, Steve.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap, and I got to say thank you so much to Jay and Erin for sharing that story with us today. What a great story. Check them out, dabble.co, and I will have information on the page with show notes, links to the website, links to any Twitter feeds, etc. for you guys, and that's at makeyourmark.com/3, as in episode 3. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Next time, we're going to have James Clear. We're going to be talking about habits, habit building, and some of the critical elements to help you guys build success and get unstuck in business and life. And as always, please head over to iTunes, leave me a review, rate the podcast. It helps me out so much, and I appreciate it more than you know. So have a fantastic day. Go out there and make your mark. and I'll talk to you next time.